Mythology at St. Patrick's ACU campus. Rested in Athens and then went and visited Corinth, where Paul is actually there. So we've seen his name, and there's clear and distinct evidence where the archaeological evidence and the text of the New Testament and the Gospels match. I have to say, Corinth was just completely mind-blowing for me. I am something of a Hellenophile, and I really admire the Greek culture, so this is something of a lifetime, once-in-a-lifetime trip for me. I've always enjoyed studying Greek history, especially the pre-Christian pagan history. It's something of an interest of mine. I can draw a comparative link between Greek mythology and Australian Indigenous mythology. The concepts and the underlying sort of principles and ideas are very similar to Aboriginal culture. Just as our culture heroes travelled around and formed the landscape where sacred sites are now formed, just as here I visited Corinth, which had the Temple of Apollo, and it was just amazing. The Agora, the marketplace, just to take every step, you cannot not but sort of walk into history, and just such a long period of history. Corinth was fascinating because in that story St. Paul helped to free temple prostitutes of Aphrodite, which was a fascinating story because in the pagan world at that time it was common practice for priestesses of Aphrodite to act as temple prostitutes as part of their service, and Paul had helped to change the status quo forever. I'm always fascinated by the difference from the pagan world, which is the worship of sort of nature and the sort of forces of nature, but it has no compassion, has no concept of mercy. The stories of Zeus, the stories of all the ancient gods, they're quite selfish, whereas I think the new idea of a god who, for the first time in a theological sense, speaks about mercy, and this year being the year of mercy, I think was rather quite fitting, because we saw that through Paul's missionary and evangelism, I think the greatest thing which appealed, and is to this day has remained with the Greek people, is the idea that God is merciful. I think this is the most revolutionary theological concept in all religions, and that really spoke to my spirit. And as we continued on from Corinth, we went back to Athens and we visited the Parthenon. They devoted the Parthenon to the 12 gods and goddesses, and there was also the concept of the unseen God. And so St. Paul arrived in Athens and preached to the pagan Athenians of the unseen God. The Christian God is that unseen God. So this is the start of the mission of St. Paul within Athens. And to actually walk in his footsteps and to see places which I've read about from since I was a child is just absolutely astounding and wonderful and amazing to me. I have to sort of take a step back every so often to sort of absorb all of this and sort of process it. It's just amazing. We continued on from Athens out to Patmos. Patmos is described as the Jerusalem of the Aegean, a place where St. John the Evangelist was exiled to. He was there on Patmos where he wrote the Book of Revelations, the eschatological work about the end of days. And we were very, very honoured by the Orthodox monks of St. John's Baptistry on the very top of Patmos to attend their evening prayers. And we were transported back in time. As a history fan and admirer of the Byzantine Empire, it was great to see images and a direct link back to that time. It was great to be part of that sort of fellowship between the two churches, and they were so generous, so kind, and for me that has to be so far the highlight of my trip. After we went to visit the monks' mosque, we walked down through Hora, and then we continued to the nunnery of Zorbigus. It means the spring of life. so the same word where we get zoological or zoe, which means life. That was from the 11th century, 8th or 11th century, and that was just amazing. And once again, we walked from the narthex into the nave, and it was just breathtaking. The Byzantine sort of art is just most amazing of all time, and I was fascinated to see how here in the Orthodox Eastern Church, tradition is tradition is tradition. For me, as an Indigenous person who comes from 50,000 years of tradition, to do things that they've done, and now it's my turn to do them, it's deeply moving and profound. You're connected to something which is far greater than you and spans across such a long expanse of time. I've managed to resurrect this morning, made it to the ferry on time, and now we are travelling off to Cos. I'd just like to thank ACU for allowing me to go on this ship, and Jimbayar and all the people at Jimbayar and the Indigenous Unit, First Peoples Unit, and the campus ministry especially for helping me to sort of come here, and I am eternally indebted for this experience, and it's something which I will treasure for the rest of my life.